And it's usually producers or first-time directors or directors who grew up in this culture but haven't actually had to direct much themselves, who come in with that lorded over. Like, the worst thing is if you ever walk into a set and you have a director who doesn't have a producing background and is talking to you, well, here's how you have to understand my vision. My vision. Ugh.
It's similar to people who pitch saying, I'm very passionate about this project in those exact words, which if you're actually passionate about it, you should never need to say it.
Well, also, my thought to goes mind is, I certainly hope so if you're pitching it.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus Christ, what are you doing here? If you are you implying that you have projects you pitch that you aren't passionate about? God, if you're a producer, if you're being paid to do this by the director, I'd be pissed if you weren't passionate about it.
I will give a peek behind the veil here again in the real world. Sales agents pitch shit they're not passionate about all the damn time.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily serve the film well, but a honest but not passionate sales agent is probably going to do a lot better than a fake passionate and convincingly passionate, even though they don't mean it, sales agent who will rob you blind will do.
But they still got to communicate that to the director. This is one of the things where in our work dynamic is very clear and interesting here. But there is so much that where you depend on your sales agent and the person putting your film out into the world. Who are the companies currently representing Tim Travers right now? Let's put the plug for ourselves.
Guerrilla Rep Media, Animortal LLC, 123 Media, I think. Yeah.
It's important to have that trust and understanding because there are all those power imbalance dynamics. Like on the work we do, for example, because a lot of the times I'm the one who controls the IP, it gives me, compared to a lot of directors, a fairly disproportionate amount of say over what happens with my films, just because I control the IP on it. But in other cases, you will have directors who are their own producers, who poured their life and blood into something, and then they'll get those kind of folks that you were talking about who are happy to throw it away for a cheap dollar. Sales agents get a bad rap, but I think it's really important that people listening to this know how important it is to find a good one, because you need a good one. And this person, if they're not an honest player, absolutely has the ability to do you real harm.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of, I guess I got my real start in this industry by being a shark against other sharks.
Yeah.
And that was what my take on being a producer's rep was. Now that I'm back to being a producer's rep, I still do that a bit. I just have better US distribution contacts than I used to.
Which I really appreciate.
If you could go back in time and give yourself one piece of advice, what would that advice be, and when would you give it to yourself?
Directly out of college. Don't spend your own money. Okay. No, that's flippant. I would say the honest answer is the biggest piece of advice I would give myself. Everybody has to do pro bono work. Don't turn your nose up to it. That is how we make contacts. But treat it like money. I do work for you. You owe me work. And vice versa. And treat it like money. Don't fuck around about that sort of thing. Especially as a director, you only, when you don't have money, when you're trying to just get your own projects off the ground, you are only able to do that through the kindness and support of your friends. So if you have folks who are bringing you out to help them out over and over again, but when it's time to do your work, they are not there whole hog reciprocal, then those folks aren't your friends. Or at the very least, they take themselves seriously. They consider you a tool to their success. Emphasis on you being a tool. So treat that stuff like money. And even when money gets involved, I would say, when you start getting the bigger production, even the level of stuff that you and I are doing right now, really think hard about what favors for other people require. Because when they talk about how this industry is all who you know, I stand by, that always gets a bad rep. Like, people hear that statement and they assume nepotism. I hear that statement and I assume about how it's building a cumulative trust. So if I bring you a project, That means when I need a project, I bring you, the producer's rep, sales agent, a project that I know you can make money off of, even though I wasn't involved. But I think you would be really good for this particular film, and I think this film would be really good for you. That's great. That's something I'm happy to bring you, and I do that without a finder's fee or anything like that. That's me connecting people who I think will serve each other well. The trade-off is when it's time for me to bring a film, you get to be my first call, but I expect you to take that call deadly seriously. And that's how you and I have been operating for years. And I think people need to remember that, because it is so easy to fall into the trap of being somebody else's tool.
Yeah.
Yeah.